I was born and raised on a farm and didn't even know what the city life was like. It was so much different before the crash in the stock market, but we managed to survive. My parents were very strict and uptight, but they did everything just because they loved me. I practically fought them to go to college in the city, but they eventually saw that it was what I wanted to do. My brother Robert and my sister Annalise were so happy for me. They wanted me to go out and do big things with my life. But being raised in a farmer's family, we started to make less and less money each year because people were not buying fresh crops as often as they used to. But with the jobs I worked and cleaning houses and working at the local restaurant for a year, I was able to raise enough money for myself to live in the city. Hearing my name, Francesca Smith, being called to graduation was so satisfying. I'd fought so long and hard to get my degree, I was ready to get out into the workforce. I began looking at jobs in the city, but being in college for those 4 years, I was blind to the severity of the crisis that people had been talking about on campus. Once out of college, I was unable to find work anywhere. After months of looking for a job, I was forced to move back west with my family. I was unable to see them all throughout college because I would have no money to return to the city. So it was an amazing sight for sore eyes. But on a closer examination, I could see that their eyes were filled with pain at the same time. They sat me down and explained to me about how much more difficult and strenuous life would become after I left. The farm was making practically no money, and the money we do have is not enough to live a lifestyle any more than bare bones. It was a struggle to put food on the table every day, and at the end of this horrid nightmare seemed to be unending. The worst of it all was the dust storms. My mother explained to me that starting this year, huge clouds of dust engulfed entire towns and fields at once. Inside these clouds, it was impossible to see anything. Winds were swift and carried dust for miles and miles. Dust easily permeated the walls of our little farmhouse, and everything in sight was coated in a layer of brown. From what my family was telling me, life on this farm seemed to be an inescapable nightmare. I asked how anything could ever return to the way it was, and my father looked at me grimly, saying that he's unsure if anything would change for the better. Being in a very open and remote strip country land, not much word got out to us about President Hoover, but while in the city, I heard he was very unfavorable with many people. His plans to help the economy always seemed to backfire, and one friend that I met while at college told me that farmers were not getting any help. Reminiscing on what I was told at college, I was outraged at the president for not helping any farmers. How could anyone turn a blind eye to people in need? Luckily, our family felt a small weight was lifted off our shoulders with Franklin Delano Roosevelt winning the 1932 presidential election. His ideas seemed to help all subsets of people affected by the depression our country was in. And in a short time after he was sworn into office, he began to help everyone, including farmers. Little by little, our little farm was being helped by the government as they were setting money aside to help farmers who were unable to provide for families or continue business on their farms. With agencies and acts created as a part of FDR's New Deal, such as the Farmers Security Administration and the Rural Electrification Administration, farmers were getting more help and were given more outlets to make their work easier. We were able to move our family eastward to escape the awful Dust Bowl, and we were able to rebuild our lives after they were shattered to pieces from the years before. After moving east, I was able to get a job in a town within close proximity to my family's farm. I'm thankful that my life and the life of my family is similar to the way they used to be before this horrible national tragedy. We now know that we can overcome even the most treacherous hardships, and that's made us closer as we believe that our sense of family and our patience is what saved us from the worst fate.